Hey guys, today we're going to be doing another Great Depression cooking. It's called mincemeat. Originally mincemeat had ground meat, either venison, mutton, beef, whatever you had you could add to it. But I'm not putting any meat in it. The modern day versions really don't add meat. It was a way to make a combination meal back in the Depression times. So mine is going to be Deep South way, of course. We're going to be adding a combination of dried fruits, fresh fruits, and dehydrated and freeze-dried fruits. Most all of them from Deep South. A few of them will not be, but there are very few that won't be from Deep South. Then you add your spices and you bake it. And when you get it baked, you can use it to make pies and cakes. So that'll be another video for another day. But to start with, let's see what we've got going here. All right, these are some of our huckleberries. I'm gonna dump those in. We have cranberries that I bought. I'm just gonna add a few of those for our tangy citrus flavor. Raspberries, these are some of ours. And I'm just kind of sort of cleaning the freezer out. That was the purpose of some of this stuff, was to use fresh and dried. You wanted to use fresh and dried. So right now I'm taking some of my fresh stuff. Actually it's frozen, but it is fresh. And we're gonna add a little bit of our pineapple that we had. Again, for the citrus part of it. I'm not adding a lot, but I found that this pineapple makes it really sweet and helps with the flavor. Here, figs. These are fresh figs, just frozen. So I'm gonna add a few of those into it. Again, not too many, about a cup maybe. Here we have some of our dried apple. I dehydrated this. I've crushed it, adding it back. It'll rehydrate later. Craisins. A lot of them used a lot of raisins. I don't have raisins, but I had a pack of these, so we're going to use that as our raisins. Another thing, instead of raisins, I made blueberry raisins. These are called blazins. So I'm adding all my blueberry raisins here. Then Empty Hammock gave us some freeze-dried blueberries. These are our blueberries that he took back to his house and freeze-dried them and sent them back to us. So I'm gonna add a handful of our freeze-dried blueberries. Now I have dehydrated figs. I have a whole jar of them here, but we've added fresh figs, and I have this fig leather that I wanted to use, and I've crushed it where it's in pieces, and so that gives me a lot of dried fruit in there. It'll be more figs than most anything else in the dried department. This is some of my orange peel. This is from 2 years ago, I think. I just put it in this coffee grinder and ground it up, and it calls for adding some orange peel to it. Then I'm adding a touch of lemon because I want a little bit of preservative here. And one of the last things is apples. All right, these are some apples from this past year. All I did was slice them and freeze them. So instead of having to buy fresh apples for this, I already have my apples here. So we're gonna add all these apples to it to mix it up. And the apples will be our fresh fruits. Most of them call for adding brown sugar. We just made our cane syrup. It's not in the brown sugar form, but it'll still work really well. And I'm gonna just pour about half a cup of it. And we're gonna mix this up and add our spices. This is what it's looking like. Looks like a jumble of fruit. It's looking good. We're going to add some allspice. And we're going to add a generous helping of cinnamon. And as you know, Danny's not eating this. And the final ingredient is some apple juice. It needs a little bit of moisture to get it started, because when we go to cooking it, all this is just going to turn into a syrupy mass in the pan. And you're going to cook it really slow, like 200 for a couple of hours. Okay. That's what our mincemeat is looking like before it goes into a pan. And so the pan's big enough. I think it is. And you have your combination of dried fruits, fresh fruits, spices, and once it cooks down, and once this cooks down, it's going to be awesome. We're going to cover it in a thick tin foil because you want the steam to rise and settle in it. And then we're going to put it in the oven at 200 for 2 hours. Before I cover it all up, I'm going to add a little bit of butter across the top because we're not using suet or lard or anything like that. Butter works just as well. So we're going to add that to the mixture. And it was about half a cup. And now we're going to cover it. Okay, our mincemeat is out of the oven. And it is looking really good. And it's got this juices at the bottom that you just kind of flip so that all of it is covered in the syrup that goes to the bottom. And it's hot. It's pretty much a combination of fruit. Basically that's all it is, and cinnamon and spices. And now we're going to try and make a cake out of it. We're going to add to a cake or on a cake or something. I've got to figure out which way I want to go with it. But mincemeat, the Deep South way. Thank you guys. This is a cake I made with the mincemeat. It's simply a sugar, eggs, butter, vanilla, flour recipe that I added the mincemeat to. It's more like a spice cake when you're done. After it came out of the oven, I added a mixture of powdered sugar and butter and poured over the top as a glaze. It tastes a lot like just a regular spice cake. The fruit just was an added bonus to it. So I hope you enjoyed our Great Depression mincemeat, Deep South Homestead way. Thank you from Deep South Homestead.